imagine I've probably had a lot of conversation with my friend this week, my friend being my husband. A lot of time to just sit and talk and reminisce and all of that. And we started laughing because he said to me, "Do you remember when life was boring?" I said, "Yes." Well, that was way back in my teenage years. And yes, oh my, if there wasn't activity happening all the time, I was bored. And then I remember that in my 30s, I still was bored sometimes. But then I began to also think that life was difficult. This wasn't near as much fun as I thought it was going to be. And then when I got to be almost 40, life begins at 40, you know. When I got to be almost 40, I heard something that just about knocked my socks off. And it changed me. I heard someone say that Jesus had said that the kingdom of heaven was within. I couldn't believe it. I never heard that before. And that was followed up by another statement, "It is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Wow! Why hadn't I ever heard that before? Well, I heard it then. And I began to think that that gave me a new perspective on things. How I thought about Jesus and heaven and sin and all those things that had puzzled me for so long. And it also was the very first time that I felt included. People had told me ever since I was a little girl that if I didn't believe the way they believed, then I was on the outside. And I had always thought that about myself. I'm on the outside looking in, my nose pressed against the glass, wishing that I could be inside. Well, now when I heard this and my life began to change and my awareness began to grow, I knew that I wasn't on the outside looking in. I was in, and I was already there. So that's why I appreciate the book that we're doing right now. Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Practical guide to making your dreams come true. And I find that he's saying that same thing. We're already in. We are in this field of all potentiality that is the kingdom of heaven. We live there. And so I appreciate the different perspective he gives and the way that he calls this kingdom by many different names to give us a deeper understanding of what it is and the part that you and I have to play in this. So now, I don't think life is boring. In fact, life can be very exciting, and if I ever think that life is difficult, I know then that I've forgotten where I live. I've forgotten where I stand on holy ground. Has anyone ever greeted you with, "How's life treating you?" Anybody ever said that to you, or you said it to somebody? But actually, that's not the way it is. Life doesn't treat us. Life just is. Maybe the question should be, how are you treating life? What are you giving to life? What are you contributing to life in this moment? And so I find that we, looking at life, and I'm just saying we because I'm going by all the people I know, and myself included, we often have the idea that life is here to give. And we're here to get. We take, we get to receive, but that's all backwards. We have to give to life first, and then life gives back to us. So you see, we've already done here these first 2 laws of success. The first one was just knowing that we live in the kingdom, and the second one is now the law of giving, what we give to life. So what do we give to life? I find that one of the most difficult things, and I said this last week, was to give ourselves. Not to the world, but to give ourselves to Spirit. So I'm finding that in thinking about this difficulty of giving ourselves is difficulty of giving forgiveness. I'm finding that for many people, that is really a challenge. And it is for me. To really forgive someone. What did Charles Fillmore say? That we should never go to sleep at night without forgiving everyone. And you know, I'm going to forgive myself right now for not doing something with the thermostat. So I'm going to ask you, John, to go back there and see what you can do with them to get some air moving and a little bit of coolness in here. Yay! Thank you so much. Well, I don't want to get off the track then of this forgiveness, because it's very important that we learn to forgive others as we want to be forgiven. When you think of all the things that you desire in this life, you know, I went to a class once and I made pages full of things that I wanted. I think it was 2.5 pages. All the material things that I wanted to have in this life. And when I got to the very bottom, I thought, but there's something missing. I think what I want most of all is peace. I want to be peaceful. I want to feel that I am loved. I want to feel that I am forgiven. So this law of giving is really to keep giving out all those things that we want. Someone said, and maybe it was Deepak, that the easiest way to remember this law is to remember it that the easiest way for you to get what you want is to help someone else get what they want. That's the law of giving. The third law, and we're just going to briefly touch on this one too, is the law of karma. And karma is that action law. It's the comeback. And it's all about the choices we make in life. I began to think, what's the wisest choice that we could make in this life? The wisest choice would be to connect with Spirit. The wisest. The connection with Spirit is something that we always have. But we forget. So we all know the biblical passage about building your house on sand or building your house on a rock. You see, we have this reference point that we can put our reference point out in the world, and we build our house on sand. It's a changing, shifting scene. And if we put our emphasis on that, there's nothing really for us to hang on to. But if we build our house on a rock, we build it on Spirit and on that connection. And then, it isn't that the rains and the winds and the storms are never going to come, because they are. But we will endure. The foundation will be strong. So we talk about then our house. John, would you like to go over and do that one too? Thank you. We talk about what is our house, because we're talking about the choice we have to build it on sand or rock. Well, our house is our consciousness. And we talk about consciousness so much in Unity, but sometimes we say, but what is it? What is my consciousness? Isn't it my awareness of things in my life? My awareness of everything that is in my life, my knowledge of things. It's all my thoughts, my ideas, my experiences, all of this put together. It's my knowledge of everything in my life that I carry around in my mind. The same with you. All these things that you carry around in your mind. That's your house, that's your consciousness. And when we build our house, our consciousness on Spirit, we've got it. We're firm. So we need to keep our heart open to Spirit, and all is well. And I found that out. You know, sometimes we have experiences in life that really give us that first-hand practice. Well, I've been practicing. So now we come to the law of least effort. And this one we haven't heard about before, so this is new to us. The law of least effort is something that we don't understand in our Western way. In this world where we're so constantly busy doing, and we say the law of least effort, I'm supposed to put in less effort and accomplish more. That doesn't make any sense to me. But we use nature as a cue. I want you to think of all the magnificent work that is done in nature. Isn't it amazing? And it's done with no effort. So, grass doesn't try to grow, it just grows. And flowers don't try to bloom, they just bloom. Fish don't try to swim, they just swim. You see, we're putting ourselves and nature then into this law of love and harmony. This is the flow of perfect order, divine order. Often we talk about divine order. Well, to me, that's what it is. Just look at nature. That's divine order. And we can put ourselves there too. So birds don't try to fly. They fly. That is their intrinsic nature. It's the nature of the sun to shine. It's the nature of the stars to shine and to twinkle. And how we love to look at the stars. Now let's remember that you and I are a part of all of this. A part of creation. And so it is our nature then to manifest our dreams. How? With struggle? No. With effort? No. To manifest them easily and with the least effort. That, you know, I think about this often because it is that idea of I always have to do. I always have to put in more effort. No. Let it flow. Just let it flow. I invite us all to do that. See what happens. In Vedic science, the age-old philosophy of India, they call this the principle of doing less and accomplishing more. Well, that needs to be explained too, I think, because we just don't get it. But I did think of how we meditate and how we go within and how that helps us so much to be aware that we don't have to be doing all the time. Tell me about your practice of meditation and I will tell you how easily your life can flow. How easily. So in this way then, in this law of least effort, that Deepak is talking about, we find that we surrender. I love the word surrender. I'm so glad it was used in the daily word today, because I just have to give it up. One of the things that we do to block this energy, and I'm going to call this now love energy, one of the things we do to block it is we worry. We worry. We worry about ourselves because we're not going to have enough. We worry about ourselves, oh, I might fail. And I don't have enough education, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough of this, enough of that. And we're constantly worrying, and when we do that, we're blocking this flow of energy. We worry about others. We worry about our loved ones. We call that love. It isn't. It isn't. When we worry about them, we are sending them negative energy and we are blocking the flow for them. It's not a good thing to do. To hold someone in light is the most beautiful thing you can do, and know that they are safe. I had practice with that too. This has all been so good for me. So, knowing that you need to put this law into practice is something we can all do, but it does take a little bit of thinking, a little bit of inventory into how you're living your life now. By the way, I'm just glad to be wearing this because it kind of brings me back to center and it brings me back to fun. Yeah, we all need to have fun in our lives, and we do. I'm so thankful for so many things today, and certainly for fun and conversation and sharing all the things that we could share with each other. So don't let me get off the track here, because I think I am off the track right now. Thank you for bearing with me today. I really have to say I appreciate that so much. So I think now in telling you about this, I'm going to give you one example of how we can practice this law of least effort. And the example is right here in this building. We don't have any hot water right now. And the first law, the first principle of practicing the law of least effort is to accept. Okay, we don't have hot water, we accept that. We don't rail against it because it wouldn't do any good at all. When we are upsetting ourselves in the moment, we are actually struggling against the entire universe. We accept what is in this moment. Now, it's not that we can't do anything about it in the future, because we can. Then we can get creative, but right now, it is what it is. No hot water. The second component of this principle, is that we practice responsibility. And responsibility is our ability to respond in a creative way. We're not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming that nice man who was supposed to come last week and fix the hot water heater. But he didn't come. I don't know why. He might have had 10,000 things to do and he just forgot. I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming anybody. But now, because there is this responsibility, my ability to create, and everyone else's here too, maybe we can figure out a way to get hot water this afternoon. Maybe we can go light the hot water heater and see what happens. It's not going to stay, but it might help. And the third thing is defenselessness. That's how we accept this law or practice this law of least effort. Deepak says, if you observe people, you will realize that 99% of their energy is spent in defending their point of view. So then I have to ask myself, how much energy do I spend in defending my point of view? This has nothing to do with the hot water heater. This is just to do with life in general. How do we go about defending our point of view when maybe it's just a point of view? You have one and you have one, we all have one. And they're all important. I could use my energy in better ways. So I'd like to tell you about my experience. Because when you are sitting in a hospital waiting room and you're waiting for the outcome of some surgical procedure that's done on somebody else that you love, you're sitting there, and I took the book with me because I thought I need to be reminded of how I should be in this moment. That was a good thing. It really was. And so the receptionist in the room yesterday afternoon, when she was about ready to leave, and she said, I better turn the television on before I leave. Why? I was reading my book. I don't need the television. But she decided to turn it on, and I accepted in that moment. It's okay. Imagine my delight and surprise when she turned it to Dr. Oz. And who was his guest? Deepak Chopra. I could not believe it. So, now I get out my piece of paper, and now she's talking. And I'm going to take notes. And I thought, I don't want to be impolite and tune her out. You ever talk about multitasking? That's what I was trying to do. Listen to her, try to listen to the television, write my notes, and I did a pretty good job. Finally she said, "I'm leaving, goodbye." And that was a blessing, because now I could really concentrate. So what he said, and did anyone see that? You did. No, he talked about how we need to de-stress, and he gave us a technique for doing that. So I wanted to remember every single thing he said, but you know that program goes too fast. I couldn't even take notes fast enough. But he talked about a mantra, and he said in 5 minutes you can de-stress yourself, and the mantra is Shiva Hum. What does that mean? Shiva Hum. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know. But this was Shiva. I'm sure he said Shiva Hum. Well, I don't know. It sounds good to me. I took it in. And he said when things come and distract you and thoughts come, because they will, there's your mantra, Shiva Hum. Shiva Hum. So he, what?
You have to Google it.
Yes, oh, Google it, yes. I could have done that. Thank you, David. All right. So then Deepak and Dr. Oz sat on the stage in the lotus position, the yoga, and they closed their eyes, and then he kept talking. And Deepak said, "Now, I want you to think of something or someone that you really love. To put yourself in this energy of love." That wasn't hard for me. And then to think of what you want to achieve from these minutes that you are spending in silence. Now it's strange that he didn't talk about going within at all. He didn't talk about living in the field of all potentiality. He was speaking to a general audience, but he was getting his point across. And so he said, now, what is it that you want to achieve? Hold on to that. When thoughts come, Shiva Hum, Shiva Hum. And they didn't spend the 5 minutes because they couldn't do that on television. But I found myself practicing that later. It's beautiful. I invite you to try it, because it takes you to that place within, takes you to spirit. And that is the place of solutions, the place where you find all your answers, that place of spirit that gives you all the strength and comfort and confidence and whatever it is that you need. And from that place, life is good. Life is good. Why? Because we say so. That's why life is good. It is what it is. But it will become what you and I make it. Namaste.